everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is Aditi Ranjan, and before we start anything, how are you all guys doing? And if you watched my last video about how to make rebuttals in BP debate, you might be assuming that only making strong rebuttals give you a first position or make you stronger in a debate, but no, it's nothing like that. If you don't make good extensions, you will never get a powerful stance. And especially if you're from the closing government or the closing opposition, you definitely need to work on extensions. And I will cover that for you. What is extension, how to make extensions, and how to make a simple extension powerful. Everything. But before that, I want you to drop your love in the comments, hit the like button and subscribe, because that really gives me a lot of motivation to make these videos. So now let's go and learn how to make powerful extensions and win. Now let us master and understand how to build a powerful extension in a BP debate. But before that, why are we so seriously talking about extensions? All the major points of the argument or the debate is said by the opening half. So, and there are 8 speakers. So how will the judge remember you? So you have to bring a new material, a new perspective, or a stakeholder to the table of the debate. And you have to prove that the perspective that I bring or the stakeholder I bring is more superior than all the other people's stakeholders or perspective. And that is how you win in a BP debate or any debate you go. So that is why we are focusing on extensions. So now let us go and learn one by one, step by step, how to make extensions and then how to make it powerful. So the first step is diagnose what's missing. In the introduction video of the BP debate, I told you that you should definitely listen very carefully to the speeches of all the other members. So that is exactly where this comes in the game. Identify the weakness in the opening team's case, not just your favoring one, your opposition too. Identify what flaws they have. Are they missing on logic? Are they missing on magnitude? Are they probability less of the argument to be happening, or their time frame is less, or their time frame is more? What is the weakness in their arguments? So if they say if the opening government focus on parents, so you focus at what impacts parents have on their children. So there are 2 different perspectives, and you can prove that impact on children is more superior than parents. There's so many things that happen in a debate, and you can actually focus on that. You have to just find out the flaws that the opening government or the opening opposition is saying, so that you can pick up the point and then go against that. So that is the first point or the first step. The second step that we have, pick a type. Analytical extension. So there are so many type of extensions that you can make. The first one is analytical extension. Now pick a type. So if your team is or your opposition or the opening half is missing on logic, then go for analytical. If they are missing on facts, then go for facts. And there are so many type of extension that I'll teach you. So in this type of case, think deeper or bigger into the existing argument. So even if the opening half said the main arguments, you can logic or define it, and still the judge is gonna give you marks for that, because you defined it when. You defined it why is the stakeholders impacted. So that is why you are going to win in the debate. So deep logic. Think about deep logic, how you are going to deeply logic that. So if an argument says that let's ban homework because homeworks make children weak, or homeworks make people or children depressed. So that is the case, and they stopped here. So now if you go and explain, because students do not get time and the school hours are already so overfilled, and after that they get homeworks that they don't get to time. They don't get time to socialize, and because of which they get into depression. And after depression, already the chances of socialization is less. So it's harm the students. So the second one has more logic and proving that my point is right. So still the adjudicator is gonna give marks to the second point or the second argument, because it has more logic. So that is something that you can implement in yours. Now redefine analysis. Prove a more like understanding, provide a more understanding and consequences of the same argument and still be like successful in that. An example I can just give you, which is written on the slide, is policy reduce crime. So if OG says the opening government says policy reduce time, and the CG say crime reporting drops because victim disrupt police. So that is something that CG can make. So crime reporting drops because victim. So add analysis to that. So it's like a reverse. The CG says, the closing government says that crime reporting drops because victims disrupt police. So that is something that we can make. So that has more logic to it, more proving to it that okay, the point still stands because of this logic, not the logic that the earlier one has given. And analytical extension involve adding deeper logic and analysis to the existing argument. That is something that I've explained. Now let's move to the second type of thing. And this again, the step 2 is pick up type principle extension. So if the opening government, either opening government or the opening opposition, any of them is missing on morals, it's your duty to pick it out and put more morals or logic to it, or justification and ethics. So if a government says something which is not explained with logic, so you can explain with them with morals, or if they explain with them moral, you can explain them with logic. That is something that you do. And remember, you do not have to knife the opening government ever. If you are from the same side, if you're the opening or you're from the closing government, never knife the opening government. And if you're the closing opposition, never knife the opening opposition, because that is not in the rules of BP. And if you knife, directly your marks will be deducted or you might be eliminated from the debate. Now talking about how to put principled extension. So if in an example, like let's take an example, the opening government says we should not deport beggars to a specific area because they have a right to choose where they can live. So you can put a more moral to that, is that beggars do have home, not all beggars are homeless, and because of which if beggars are put into a specific area, what is gonna happen, that the area is gonna become poor and there will be no rules and regulation in that area. People will face more challenges, and because of which the poverty will stand. So that's like a more moral or logical base. So even you can mix out 2 or 3 extensions together and provide a more powerful extension in that. The third type that we have is practical extension. So, you can introduce a new actor. So, when I talked about in the argument video about actor policy, you remember, I hope you remember that, is that you have to talk about an actor or you have to be that actor. So, in a debate, if it's like, let's ban private schools. So, everybody will talk about principal, everybody will talk about student. So now what you can bring is, you can bring parents or to the table. So you can the parents, where will they go, or everything that is related to parents. You can shift the debate from principal, children to directly to the parents. So that is something that you can bring a new actor, and that is how you bring a new stakeholders into a consideration, and that has been ignored previously. So nobody actually talked about parents, that their money or the parents are also responsible for their children's education and all of that. So that is exactly how you bring a new stakeholders. Or you can bring a most common, what everybody ignores, is disabled people. This is a gold mine for you. In any debate, you can use disabled people or people who lack of some of reasons. You can bring of new perspective to the debate. So that also brings a new perspective, because nobody really talks in a debate about disabled people or people who face some of personal challenges. So you can talk about them and you can still win, because that they are also an important stakeholders, but they are mostly ignored. Now practical extensions introduce a new actor into the debate that I already told you. So let's say OG, the opening government, discuss government benefits. The CG, the closing government, focuses on disabled people lacking access to it. So that is something how you bring a new perspective. You're not knifing the opening government here. Be mindful about that. you are saying that okay, many people get benefit of such policies, but what about people who are disabled? They don't get anything. So that's not knifing. You don't have to knife them, you just have to align with them and still keep your side different. The judge should understand that you are different from the opening government. That is the main mindset that you have to carry as a closing government or the closing opposition. So I might be saying closing government, so do mind that it's also for the closing opposition. The third type or the fourth type that we have is framing extension. And how do we frame? So reframe the debate, change the core issue only. This is something that is a very strong thing that you can do in a BP debate, is change the whole frame. So if we say we should ban private cars, so everybody will talk about pollution, everybody will talk about fossil fuel. So what you can do is you can bring a new perspective. You can just change the course of the debate and you can talk about economy, that if banning private cars will bring loss to companies will shut down, and if companies shut down, what about the economy? The economy also run on various multinational companies, and because of which every economy is gonna face short of depression, and that will bring a global recession. So that's you change the course. Now you're not just talking about pollution or fossil fuel. What you're talking about is global recession. So that's two different perspectives, and that how you change the course of the debate. Economic growth is the original issue. Let's take an example. So what you can say, if in a debate economy issue is the original issue, or what they are talking about, opening government is fighting for is economical issue, but you can bring into the table its fair distribution, that there is inequality even in the economic growth, and something like that. So that brings a really new thing or issue to the debate, and that will actually give you a stance to stand. Now, framing extension, reframing the debate course issue, that already I told you. The OG frames the debate about economic growth, so the CG reframes the debate about fair distribution of resources. So here also we are not knifing the government. What we are saying is that there is not fair distribution, or we should focus on fair distribution, and that's how we do economic growth. So that's how you bring a new perspective to the table, and judge is gonna remember, okay, they have more mind to the debate and they think about more stakeholders rather than just a surface level research. What they have done is deep analysis of the topic, and that's how you impress the judge or the judicator and you make the impact. Now, the thing that we have built and labeled it, this is something that's very, very important, because even if your chant starts and if you are the government member, already 4 speakers have told, or they spoke their speeches. So the judge has also not so much patience to listen to all the 8 speakers. What you're going to do is keep your points concise. Do not expand it so much, and label it memorability, and emotionally. So let me explain that. Not reading the slide, because I'm very bad at reading the slide. Let me explain that with my own logic. Is concise. So keep your points very concise yet powerful, because judge don't have so much patience to listen to all the 8 speakers, because he has already listened to all the 4 speeches. Now make it emotional, and not just emotional means start crying, and not like that, sorry. But what you have to do is label your label your points or arguments. So how you label your arguments, make it little emotional. So invisible victim, so that's something, the word that will stick, that's a hook that you use to hook the judge. And alliteration, so you're using to label it is to alliteration, cycle of corruption. So these words will actually attract the attention of judges before you actually impact, or before you actually start speaking your argument. Now, talking about concise, I told you about concise, keep your points concise, but I also mean is keep your label concise. Do not expand your label, I think, more than 2 to 3 words, because that will give them a sense of statement, and nobody's gonna, you're not gonna attract any attention to that. But if you keep it invisible victims or cycle of corruption, that brings attention to the table, and that's what you have to do. And keep your points also concise, not very explanatory but yet explanatory, because nobody's gonna rebut you if you're a whip, so you can keep it as concise as you want. And the label for the extension need to be concise and memorable. So even if the judges like all the 8 speeches are over, and the judge is gonna remember, okay, this person said like cycle of corruption, and I think that's a great point. So that's how you get the point. It's not about how good speech you make, it's about how strong your points are, that the judges remember that even your speech is over. So that's how, because he's gonna mark everything after every speech is over. So that is something that is incredible, and like that everybody should mind about. Now build, label it, and continues. So it's the same thing, just I am giving more explanation to it. It's use powerful words, metaphors, so that like you can use like examples can be like powerful words, like you can moral mandate, or that's emphasize like ethical duty. Metaphor like Trojan house of injustice, so that's like highlight a very hidden danger. So like you just have to use a very strong answer, and for that I think you can definitely check out. I'm not telling you to cheat, but before your speeches or while you are practicing debate, I think you can use AI to actually use these words and understand how AI is framing these words, so you can understand. Still not promoting cheating during debating. What I mean is during practice you can take help of AI. And you can also say the forgotten child or the unremembered child. These words actually bring attention, and these like a metaphor to the real problem. And like these are the examples that I've told you, and you can. I know you all are very creative, so you can frame more creative answer than this. Now, recap. Extension power. So, first, diagnose. First, listen to the speeches very carefully. Always carry a notebook or a page beside you while listening to the speeches of others, and mark the points. Write the points near you. Diagnose what is missing, then pick a type. So if they miss on logic, go for logical explanation. If they miss on ethics, go for ethical or principled explanation. And then build it and label it. So label your arguments to attract the attention and build it to win. So master these 3 steps, and you will definitely gonna win these steps, or you're definitely gonna win the debate. Now, moving ahead is also a thing that I really want to tell you, which is not in the slides. As a web speakers, there are so many problems that you face, because you have to listen to the speeches very carefully, and also as the member of government. So even if member of government, you can introduce new points, but as a web, you cannot use new points. So this, like, if you want to like rebuttal, I think for that, I think it's more of like a member of government or member of opposition. But as a web, I think diagnose and pick a type is more of your kind of work, and I will definitely cover that some in other video about web speech. And that was it for today, guys. So thank you so much for watching. This really means a lot to me. And before you leave, make sure to drop your love in the comments, hit the like button and subscribe, because that gives me motivation.